Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be my review of The Batman. This was one of my most anticipated movies of 2022, and I gotta say, it did not disappoint. And this was one of the best looking movies that I have ever seen. The cinematography was just on a whole nother level. It looks so good that if you were to pause almost any moment of this movie, you could print it out and use it as artwork. I had a great time watching this movie. This is a true detective style Batman film, and Matt Reeves did a great job making this whole new Batman universe. He really immerses you in the life of Batman and the city of Gotham. We have never seen Gotham like this in a movie because it is just so dark, so gritty, and we really get to see a lot of the actual crime that Batman has to deal with. That was one of my complaints with the older movies, is that, you know, Gotham essentially just looked like a normal place with a couple of bad seeds. But this Gotham, this is a bad place. Anyways guys, the way that I want to break down this video is basically talking about the main characters and what I thought about them, and then just going to my positives and negatives, and then giving you my final review. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start with the main actor, of course, which is Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think he did a great job, and I gotta say, personally, he is my favorite live-action Batman to date, which that's a pretty big statement because I really liked Ben Affleck, and then obviously I like Christian Bale, and I like the other iterations of Batman, but this one is just so real, and that's what Matt Reeves was going for. He really wanted this Bruce Wayne to feel like a real guy who went through a tragedy and is now dressing up at night and beating up bad guys. And Robert Pattinson's performance was just so damn good. Like, this guy didn't really say that much, but the way that he delivered the performance was really just through the mannerisms of Batman and the way that he just, like, looks at people and everything. I've never seen that in a Batman film. Like, he could literally just stare at someone and I would be like, whoa, like, this is crazy. The presence of Robert Pattinson's Batman was just so damn good, and, like, obviously in this film, he's an actual detective, which was something that was missing in the other Batman movies. He was never really like a true detective. Yeah, he did some detective work, but it was never really like a main focus and something that was in his arsenal in those movies. In this movie, though, I would say it's almost like a crime thriller with Batman in it, and it's just really awesome to see Batman working alongside the GCPD and then him just like outperforming their detectives. It was really cool. Like, you would have a GCPD detective just kind of like brainstorming and thinking about how something happened, and then Batman would just like out of nowhere just be like, the answer is this, and just kind of make the cops feel inferior because Batman is just so good. Really cool. Then his fighting style is just very brutal. It's not very polished, which I kind of like because in the movie he says this is his second year as Batman, so I didn't expect him to be, you know, this super polished crime fighter. So the way that he fights people is just so brutal. Like, it's just swinging punches, like it looks like street fighting almost. And I really like the fight choreography for most of the scenes. Some of them weren't as good as others, but overall it was a very solid fighting style for the first film in Matt Reeves' Batman universe. I do have one complaint though with Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, and that's that the Bruce Wayne aspect of his character wasn't very charismatic, but I understand why. Like, Matt Reeves wanted this Bruce Wayne to be almost like gothic, like really depressed and angry, and he's almost struggling to differentiate his Bruce Wayne identity from Batman. So like, I understand why Matt Reeves didn't make the Bruce Wayne side of Robert Pattinson really charismatic and likable, but at the same time, that's the kind of Bruce Wayne that I like, so it's kind of like a nitpicky personal negative, I guess, but I can definitely see them changing that for future films and being like, okay, Bruce Wayne, you need to actually put on this persona, be that playboy philanthropist that people want to see so that they don't question you possibly being Batman at night, and maybe they'll make a whole character arc out of that, like him discovering how to be Bruce Wayne, which I think would be pretty cool. So I do think they're going to address it in future films, but it was just one thing that I noticed in this film that I didn't particularly like, even though I think they're going to develop on that in future films. The next character is Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman. I gotta say, she was fantastic. Her presence on screen was so good, and I'm really happy that they gave her a lot more character depth, and she wasn't just like this hot girl in a latex costume. She actually had a story that tied into the whole thing that Riddler was orchestrating, and the chemistry between Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson was just crazy. Every scene that they were together, I was like, are these guys just gonna, like, you know, close the curtains and do it? Like, I don't know what's going on here. The tension was high with these two, but I gotta say, I really like those characters together, the Bat and the Cat, and some of my favorite scenes were Catwoman scenes in this movie because her story is actually very strong, and Zoe Kravitz did a phenomenal job delivering her lines, and everything that she does in this film is just done really well. And I like that she kind of pushes Robert Pattinson's Batman. She's like the chaos and Batman's the order, and she's basically just telling Batman, like, hey, let loose, like, let's just do it this way, things will actually get done if we do it this way. And Batman's like, no, Selina, if you go that way, there's no turning back. And I just love the dynamic that they had. Next is Paul Dano's Riddler. Now, this was a very surprising performance. I thought they were just gonna go the route of, like, this guy is just a serial killer, crazy guy, and, you know, just go from there. Paul Dano's performance was incredible. Like I would say that was my second favorite Batman villain performance out of all of the movies. Heath Ledger, of course, is still my number one, but Paul Dano's Riddler is just below that. He really surprised me. Like, I was sitting in the movie and I was just smiling at his performance. I was like, damn, this is so good. His line delivery, the craziness of the Riddler. I really like that Matt Reeves essentially made him the Zodiac killer from real life, but with a sprinkle of DC on there, making him the Riddler. It was a very cool way of bringing the Riddler to live action, and I really enjoyed it. And this guy is terrifying. He's gruesome, he's disgusting, he's a little funny, which I wasn't expecting. Like, some parts you actually laugh at the Riddler because he's just so crazy, and some of the stuff that he says, you're like, what the heck is going on here? But yeah, I love the Riddler in this movie. He was definitely a standout performance for me. And one thing that I really liked was they made him just look like a normal dude. Like, he looks a little nerdy, you know, versus when you see him in the comics and the games and everything. When you see Edward Nygma, like, you can definitely say, like, that guy looks like a villain. Versus Paul Dano's Riddler in this movie, when he's not in the whole Riddler getup, he looks like he just goes home and just plays Minecraft or, like, PlayStation or something. He just looks like a normal, everyday dude. And I really like that because it shows how dark people can get in Gotham. Next is Colin Farrell's The Penguin. Now, this was another standout performance for me, and I'm really excited to see more of him because they have announced that they're going to be making a Penguin series that's going to be on HBO Max, which I think is going to be awesome. His performance was great. The accent that he brought to the character was great. The character design, like the prosthetics on his face and everything, was incredible, and whoever did that, they'd need an award hands down because I could not even tell that was Colin Farrell. He didn't have that much to do in the movie, but he is going to have a lot to do in the future of the Batverse, and I just can't wait to see more of him. Next is Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. Now, this was another great performance, and I really liked how they made him work alongside Batman. Like, yes, he did it in previous films, but not to this extent. Like, he's actually going with Batman to crime scenes, and they're doing detective work together, and it almost felt like a buddy cop movie at some points. And I just love how he acts, because he's just like, hey man, like, calm down, relax, that's not how we do things. And Batman obviously respects him, so he's like, okay. And I just really like the dynamic. Like, there's a lot of characters that have a good dynamic with Robert Pattinson's Batman. I would say Catwoman and James Gordon are obviously the standouts, but the relationship between Gordon and Batman is just so awesome to see in this movie, because he's like the one true cop that actually trusts Batman and invites him into crime scenes and everything, but then the other cops are like, what the heck is this dude doing here? And it was just cool to see him defending Batman at crime scenes and inside of the GCPD and everything, and I can't wait to see more of this dynamic duo. Next is Andy Serkis as Alfred. Now, unfortunately, he didn't have that many scenes in the movie, but he does look like he's going to be playing an integral part of Batman's future, and I hope that they give him a lot more screen time in the next movie. But you can tell this is going to be that ex-military style Alfred, which I really like. In the Batman movie prequel comic, it was actually said that he actually trained Bruce on how to fight, and I hope we get some flashbacks to that in a future property, because I think that would be awesome. But I would say Andy Serkis's performance was solid, even though he didn't really have that many lines and that much to do, and I really hope they utilize him a lot more, because obviously he's an amazing actor, and I think he definitely has the potential to be my favorite live-action Alfred. I would even compare him to the Gotham version of Alfred, like the TV series. He's just that ex-military hard-ass type Alfred, and I really like that. Next is John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. Really solid performance. He's a really charismatic actor, and he kind of just takes over whatever scene he's in, and him being a crime boss in this movie I thought fit really well, and he's actually got a pretty integral part to the story, which I wasn't expecting. I thought they were just gonna kind of put him in the movie just to establish that there is a big crime boss in Gotham, and that was really it, but they gave him a lot more to do, which I am not complaining about, because I really like him as an actor, and I really like him as Carmine, and they tied him into Batman's backstory and everything too, so now you've got Batman the hero tied with a villain, and it makes for some really good drama in this movie. So guys, that was my opinion on the main cast. Now let's talk about the story overall. I thought it was very solid. The Riddler is essentially going after people in power, trying to unravel the secrets of Gotham, and I thought he did it in a really entertaining way. The movie was heavily based off of The Long Halloween, and you definitely get some narration parts that help solidify that. Batman opens up the movie and he's basically saying, like, it's October 31st, Halloween, and that narration action definitely feels like the comic book. It was just a true crime thriller, and I had an amazing time start to finish. The end was a little bit messy, like the third act. It was just kinda out there, I guess. Like, it didn't really fit the same tone as Act 1 and 2. It kinda just felt like, okay, we need to end the movie, so something big needs to happen. And that was really the only thing in the movie that I just was kinda like, okay, this is not the greatest. It's definitely not bad, but like, I thought the end was gonna be a bit better. Overall, though, the story worked really well. It brought in tons of characters and really built the Bat universe. If you guys didn't know already, they're making a ton of spin-off stuff. They have like a whole bunch of TV shows that they're planning on making that's set in this same universe. And then they've already been talking about their sequel, The Batman 2. So Warner Brothers definitely believes in this project, and I believe in it too. And I can't wait to see more of it. And for this being the very first film in this new universe, this is a solid foundation, and I can't wait to see where they go. And now I know one other thing that you guys are probably wondering is, do I like this more than The Dark Knight? Now, I would say that's a tough decision, because I've watched The Dark Knight probably like 15 times now, and it's one of my all-time favorite movies. But the fact that I'm even thinking about this movie maybe being better than it says a lot. Like, I would still say The Dark Knight is slightly better in my eyes, like the performances and the story and everything was just a little bit better in my opinion. But then again, I've only seen The Batman once. I haven't really watched it, you know, multiple times and soaked everything in. Both are amazing films, but right now, if I had to pick, I would still say The Dark Knight is my favorite, and then The Batman is my second favorite Batman movie of all time. But that could change. Like, I'm gonna go see the movie again on Sunday, so maybe after that viewing I'll have a better, full opinion. But right now, it's still gotta be The Dark Knight. One other thing quickly before we end the video, guys, is I want to talk about that Batmobile. That thing is badass. It's essentially a muscle car with like a jet engine on the back, and watching this thing in IMAX just rumble and turn on and go was so damn cool. Like, I was like, oh my god, I need the Hot Toys version of this. Really, really cool Batmobile, and I can't wait to see it evolve over time. But yeah, guys, I really like this movie. It is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. A true detective crime thriller. Batman is just so badass in this movie. He's obsessed with being Batman, and he's actually Batman in this movie for, I would say, like 90% of it. We barely get any Bruce Wayne at all, which I am not complaining about, because if you watch like animated movies, you read comics, you've played the games and all of that, he's barely ever Bruce Wayne. And I really like that they brought that to the movie, because most of the time we get like maybe 40% Bruce Wayne and 60% Batman, but I really liked seeing him as Batman a lot more in this film. But yeah, I can't wait to see this movie again on Sunday, and maybe I'll have a more clear opinion about it after that. But this is a very solid movie. You definitely need to check it out. If I had to grade it right now, I would say it's a solid A. Very good movie. Matt Reeves, you did a fantastic job. Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Andy Serkis, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano, you guys did a great job with this movie, and I can't wait to see more. So guys, thank you for watching this review. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe. Lots of content coming, and also let me know what you guys thought about the movie down below. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video.